Washington football. Woo! Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Burgundy Zone. I am your host, Kyle, and I'm joined by my co-host, Michael Reed. Hall should be here at some point during this episode. Thank you for joining us. The Burgundy Zone is a part of the Frederick Podcast Network. You can find out more by going to www.listenfrederick.com. The title of tonight's episode is The Mock. And speaking of The Mock, we got to bring in one of the draft experts of around the Washington community, Mr. Ryan Fowler of the Bleacher Report. Thank you for so much for joining us this evening, sir. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Always appreciate you guys. And we're 2 weeks away from this thing. It's an exciting time and always the best time of year. And we're Washington Commanders because it's usually our Super Bowl here this time of year.
So it came up so fast.
Yeah,
It's been so fast this year. Yeah. Usually I'm sitting at home dreading it. I'm like, come on, I'm counting down the days this year.
Hey, Reed, do me a favor, turn your phone sideways. But I've got to get your opinion on
Just
this,
because
Fowler.
you asked. Nope.
Because there's 2 weeks to go. Visits are next week, and it just got announced Drake May, Jaden Daniels, and J.J. McCarthy are going to be visiting with the Commanders. What do you make of all that? Like, what do you think of those three QBs, and where are you at right now with that number 2 overall pick?
Yeah, number 2 overall. I know there is a lot of prospect fatigue going on with Drake May from North Carolina, but I'm not getting keep with his evaluation. Drake May would be the pick if I'm Adam Peters, and I'm moving forward with that. I think there is so much context needed with Jaden Daniels. We could sit here for hours and hours and hours as far as the concerns for me more so than the pros with him. Obviously, we sit in a day and age, guys, where everybody's excited about the deep balls to Neighbors and Brian Thomas and outrunning guys in space from a pursuit angle perspective. But you're going to hear elsewhere that Jaden Daniels is Lamar Jackson. You're not going to hear it from me. That's a terrible comparison as far as the expectations that you're putting on the young man comparatively to a 2-time MVP. Jaden is right beside J.J. McCarthy for me on my board as far as that QB3, QB3A, 3B. But if I'm at 2 overall right now, if I'm Adam Peters, there's no leaks out of Washington. And whatever you're hearing as far as they're taking this guy or this guy, I promise you it's false. I mean, I just literally got off the phone with a great agent friend of mine that reps probably 7 to 8 of the top offensive linemen in this class expected to go on day 1 and day 2. Not one of them has had a 30 with Washington, and they don't have a 30 scheduled with Washington. So that just tells you they keep things tight in Washington. Don't let a lot of that stuff sneak out of the building. But Drake May's my guy too.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm like, I love Drake. I don't see what everybody's talking about. I get these need some work, but I think a lot of stuff's being overblown about him. But so let's just talk about the entire NFL. We've been talking about the Commanders for months now in the draft leading up. So let's just say, obviously, we know quarterbacks are going 1, 2, more than likely 3. Do you see quarterbacks going the first 4 picks as well? Do you think there's going to be a trade up there with Arizona, or what do you think ultimately happens?
I would be very shocked if Minnesota doesn't make its way into the top 5. Now we'll see as far as who they prioritize, whether that's a Jaden Daniels or a JJ McCarthy. If 1-2 go with Caleb Williams and Drake May. Now I'm even look if I'm GM Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah right in Minnesota and I'm sitting there and I want to keep that middle of the first round pick that they got from Houston and bring in trading into 23, and I'm at 11 and I really like Michael Penix. I could just potentially sit there and take him and get him in that offense as far as a fit perspective with Kane O'Connell throwing inside of a dome to Addison and of course, Justin Jefferson, TJ Hawkinson. That's a fit that actually aligns if you don't want to make a move. But I do expect the quarterbacks to go most likely 1, 2, 3, 4 in this draft. It just depends on who really goes after Caleb Williams because as we've known for months, guys, the draft really starts at 2 with Washington.
To branch off of that, how do you feel about J.J. McCarthy? I know a lot has been made, as it has all quarterbacks all throughout this process, but he's really seemed to rise up as of late. Do you really think that he's in contention to possibly go in the top 3?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think I came on here after the combine. I told you guys, wherever you have J.J. McCarthy, move him up. And now that buzz has really started to formulate itself around the industry. And I'm not a guy that would take J.J. McCarthy in the top 10. I think some of the things you try to take in a guy in the top 10, whether it's a quarterback, receiver, edge guy, you mask inefficiencies around you, what you have. I think Caleb can do that. I think Drake May can do that. I think Jaden Daniels has the potential to do that with the right progression, specifically as a passer and a quarterback under center. But I just think JJ is a lot of projection in his game. Some of the throws he made in that championship game against Washington to Roman Wilson, layering it over to the second level where his front hip is facing the weak side of the formation. Those are throws that translate well to the next level. And the athleticism is also a little bit underrated. But then you also look at him at 3 if he goes to New England, and you look at that New England offense where it's not going to get a lot of credit, but Kendrick Bourne, Demario Douglas, that's not a terrible group of receivers. And they also brought in KJ Osborne, a wide receiver that's a veteran in this league, a QB3. And they also have our old friend Antonio Gibson to allow him to just hand it off a little bit to him and Ramondre Stevenson on those early downs as well. But JJ McCarthy's a little bit more of a projection for me, not a top 10 guy for me, but I do think he goes in the top 5 in this draft.
Yeah, now we are joined by our other co-host, Mr. Michael Hall. How you doing, brother?
I'm good. I'm good. What's going on?
You got a question for Ryan?
Yeah, I don't know if you guys already asked this or not, but it's been a lot of talk about Washington being one of those teams that's going to trade back up into the first round, probably for a tackle, preferably a left tackle. How high up do you think Washington's going to have to go to get that day one, hit the ground running starter at left tackle?
I'll say this, I don't think they have to move at all. Over these last few weeks, I've heard that Kingsley Suamataia from BYU is starting to slide a little bit down some boards. Now, is that 5 picks or is that 15 to 20 picks? Because there's also been a lot of conversation and a guy that has differed opinions throughout this entire draft because he had first round grades in the spring, and that's Patrick Paul from Houston, right? The younger brother of Chris Paul on the Commanders. Where does he go? Because if you ask Patrick, he expects, and his reps, they expect to hear his name called on Thursday night. For some people, for myself, he's not a first round guy, but he may expect to be there. But I don't think Washington's going to have to move in the middle of the 30s to get a potentially a Jordan Morgan, a Kingsley Suamataia. Do you even want to sit and take a potential right tackle only and a Blake Fisher? We'll see, but I think they're in a great spot to do really whatever they want to do in this draft post second overall.
I absolutely love it. Now, latest risers so far in the draft, latest memory past maybe month or so. Who has gone up the draft boards? Who's flown up?
Yeah, I think the biggest name for me has got to be Keon Coleman or Xavier Legette, South Carolina receiver, and then, of course, Keon Coleman from Florida State. Both guys I also like as well, but the NFL is not getting cute, specifically with Keon's 40 time. That really put the draft industry right in a tizzy, if you will, because, look, he ran 4.6, he's big, he's strong, he's fast. That's fine, but you turn on the GPS and what teams use nowadays, all the analytical numbers that even Washington's using more of course, bringing in Eugene Shen. That is what matters for teams. You watch Keon Coleman play and the potential that he has. Now, I will say that I hate using that word because that word potential gets coaches fired potentially down the road, right? The potential of somebody being something. But if there's 2 guys for me in a deep wide receiver class that it is, behind the Marvin Harrisons, Neighbors, and Odunze's of the world, in that tier 2, if you will, it's Xavier Legette from Carolina and Keon Coleman from Florida State that I both, for me, are first round guys, and I do expect to hear their names called later portions of round 1.
Right. Who is a small school prospect that you see that has either risen because of a nice pro day, nice workout, or somebody that you just really have your eye on? Not necessarily for Washington, just in general.
Yeah, Christian Boyd, defensive lineman from Northern Iowa, has had one of the best pre-draft processes of anybody. Now, if you look at his measurables, his testing threshold, it's not going to blow you out of the water, and there's reasons why guys end up in the Missouri Valley Conference at the FCS level like Christian did. But he was someone that scouts really came around to in that October-November timeframe, and he showed up at the Shrine Bowl to where, look, we want you to compete against FBS Power 5 talent and see what you can do. And he dominated. And the biggest thing with Christian, and what I've been talking about with scouts, is it was just last year that we saw 2 guys, Broderick Martin from Western Kentucky, play at Shrine, not deserve a combine invite and get drafted in the top 100. And Kobe Turner from Wake Forest, no combine invite, go to Shrine, picked in the top 100, both defensive tackles. Now, I will say I don't expect Christian Boyd to go in the top 100, but if you want a twitched up, physical, aggressive, upfield penetrator along the defensive line that can play the 1, that play the 3, and do really everything for you in the middle rounds, Christian Boyd from Northern Iowa has also visited 15 to 16 teams in this pre-draft process.
Oh, you got some?
Oh, I thought you were gonna go. Nah, I wasn't even really thinking of nothing. My bad.
Christian Jones, Ryan. Talk to me
right
about Christian Jones and how he's being looked at right now currently, because on PFN Mock Draft Simulator, he's going, and I think 180 is around his average draft position. So where do you think he's going to fall in this draft?
Yeah, he won't be there at 180. Big boy out of Texas, Christian Jones lived at right tackle. I would actually like him a lot in Washington, specifically beyond the field as far as the young man that Christian Jones is and what he's going to be as far as the guy that's going to bring his lunch pail to work every single day. He's got some spunk and some confidence to him that I absolutely love as well. I mean, you talk to Christian, he talks about, look, if you look at his numbers on PFF, 1 sack allowed this year against Braylon Trice in that CFP semi. He's going to, Braylon got him on that rep. If you guys go back and watch that game, he got him a little inside move. He got him on that rep, but he said, look, Braylon's, he's all right. He's an okay type of player. I like that confidence, that swagger about Christian Jones. But everything I've heard is positive on him. He's more of a tackle that I think is going to be limited athletically. I'm not going to pull him out a ton, get out in space, or knock out that corner on a quick smoke or tunnel screen that we see with some of the more elite tackles in this class, like a Tyler Guyton. But he is someone right away that can be a plug-and-play guy and also would fit the Cliff Kingsbury wider type of north-south type of run blockers that we're seeing with additions like Nick Allegretti and Tyler Biotish within the interior.
Absolutely love it. Now, only a couple more questions for you to wrap this up, brother, but edge rusher. Is that a position that you think that Washington could target? I think myself, there's a plethora of very capable guys with a very high set of tools to be able to come in and play. Where do you think Washington should target edge rusher? And in that area, who are some players that would fit that mold?
Yeah, I know there's been some conversations as far as potentially trading back into the ended portions of round one if Latu is there. Now, he's a top 15 player in the class for me, but if he's there or they really like a Jared Verse or a Dallas Turner. Now, Chop Robinson as well, I think, is someone that's underrated in this class from an explosiveness perspective. And we've seen in years past. Now, this regime did not draft your Shaka Tonys, William Bradley Kings, and James Smith Williams of the world back end of day 3. But I think really for Washington, it's in the middle rounds to the middle rounds of day 3, so rounds 4 and 5. And a name that consistently pops up for me is Muhammad Kamara from Colorado State. I love Muhammad Kamara. Explosiveness, explosive type of edge rusher.
I just did a breakdown on him yesterday.
I saw that on your Twitter. I love it. Muhammad is just someone that you're going to bring in the building right away and understand that not only is he going to try to win the outside shoulder every rep consistently, like Chase Young tried to do out of Ohio State, because I did see it at Muhammad at the Shrine Bowl and at Colorado State, but also can win to the inside. And then once you try to overset him, he'll plow through your chest and knock you on your backside. And I think that's something I respect in Muhammad's game. That's in really the middle rounds, later portions of round 4, round 5, as well as a guy like Gabriel Murphy from UCLA. He transferred in from North Texas, finished with his brother, Grayson, who's going to be drafted most likely later on in this process. But he played opposite of Latu Latu at UCLA. Again, was top 10 in pressures in the FBS, and someone that's just a grown man from the country, the most country part of Texas that you're going to find.
Hell yeah. Someone that's going to come on your team. Yeah. You want one of them corn-fed boys. Yeah.
It's like, what did Jameis say? He said dudes from Galveston are just different.
People who are born near water.
Yeah, he said they're one with the water. I love Jameis.
One of the best thinkers of our time, if we're being honest. Jameis, the dude gets it. Yeah.
He does get it. Now, my next question for you, with the departure of Cameron Curl, obviously Derek Forrest is back there. We re-signed Jeremy Reeves. We obviously brought in Jeremy Chin, but there's even been questions if he's going to be asked to do a lot of safety duties. Do you think safety is a position that Washington should target, and who are some guys there that would possibly fit that kind of moving of the shark teeth, so to speak?
Yeah, I think there's a couple names. I was higher on Bo Braid out of Maryland earlier in this process. Did not like what I saw at the Senior Bowl live and just seeing how fluid he is, or the lack thereof, playing in that robber role that we saw with Cam Curl. But really, there's a couple names. I really like Cole Bishop from Utah. You know what you're going to get out of guys in that Kyle Whittingham program as far as just tough-minded individuals that are going to do anything for you, as well as play on special teams. But there's a kid by the name of Malik Mustafa from Wake, and he is someone that flat out can do everything for you. High athletic profile, drop his hips and run. And I'm interested to see really what Joe Witt does with these safeties, because we saw what they did in Dallas as far as trying to transfer guys like Keanu Neal down to the box, or drafting Israel Makwamu out of Carolina at corner. Now he's playing safety. And of course, Percy Butler kind of fits in that role as that long, lanky center field type of defender. But I love versatility, and we know that Dan Quinn and Joe Witt do as well. So Malik Mustafa, Cole Bishop, Dadrian Taylor Demerson's had a really nice pre-draft process from Texas Tech as well.
My man. Now, last question I have for you, Ryan, to put you on the spot. What is your prediction? Your legit prediction for the top 5 picks in the draft. How do you see it playing out? Doesn't matter what team comes up and gets them. What do you think the players will be drafted?
Yeah, I'm not going to do any trades. I don't want to play hypotheticals. I'm just going to keep it how it is. Caleb Williams, number 1 overall. I'll go Drake May, number 2 to Washington. At 3 for the Patriots, I will go J.J. McCarthy. 4, is that 4? The Chargers? Who's that? Oh, the
Cardinals.
I see the prospect fatigue with Marvin Harrison Jr. Marvin Harrison Jr. to the Arizona Cardinals, and then at 5, I will go with Malik Neighbors to the Los Angeles Chargers.
Wow, that would be a good haul for them. I'm sure
Yeah.
that the Chargers are hoping that Harrison falls to them. It would obviously be a perfect fit for them. Ryan, I can't thank you enough for taking some time out on this beautiful Thursday evening to join us, sir. If you'd like to plug your social media handle before you get going, so anybody watching that hasn't followed you yet would like to, sir.
Of course, yeah, I'm on _Ryan Fowler on X. If you don't follow me there already, and then all my work as well can be found at Bleacher Report and the Draft Network.
Ryan, have a great evening. Have a good weekend, sir. Only 2 more weeks. So close, but yet so far, brother.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys, as always.
Have
Appreciate
a
you.
good one.
Appreciate
it,
Thanks,
man.
Ryan. All right, everybody. We just spoke with the man, Mr. Ryan Fowler. Always appreciate his time. Now, boys, what's up?
How about first? We addressed the elephant in the room, Kyle. O.J. Simpson's dead.
Yep, that's
It
unfortunate.
bugs me. It bugs me because now we're never gonna find who killed Nicole Simpson Brown. No, it was funny. When they got leaked, and it was like OJ's family says that OJ died battling cancer, and then I wanted to be like, Nicole Brown Simpson's family says she died battling OJ Simpson.
I'm so happy you didn't do that. But that being said, guys, we only have Reed for about 13 more minutes, so we have our mock draft, our first ever mock draft going on here. So I want to go over this with you. Hall, I just want to let you know I do have PFN mock draft up for us. And so if we need to be able to look at the team needs or whatever have you, I got you. All right? And so we did
If you
the mock
guys draft poorly for my team, I swear to God.
Yeah, right. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to do the whole first round, okay? And so we're going to do a solo draft here. And the first selection, this one I believe went to Mr. Michael Reed. So, Reed, if you'd like to start us off here, what are the Bears doing at number 1? I know this is a really hot pressing item here. I know this is hard for you.
No, this one is tough. They are going to be taking obviously Caleb Williams. It's everything's there. It's happening, and good for the Bears, man. The Bears, they've acquired some guys. They much like Kyle, they love guys. So they got a bunch of these guys on their team, and Caleb Williams, painted nails or not, perfect guy to come in there and mess around with some guys. So they're gonna. I think
Where are you going right now?
Yeah, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
OJ's dead, dude. My day's been terrible. I don't know
Okay,
what
so
I'm
Caleb Williams goes number 1 overall to the Bears. So now is the number 2 overall pick, which went to our big supporter of the show, Commander's Call, who made the selection at number 2. So before we submit it, let's hear what he has to say and who he's going to pick at number 2.
A Commander's Call on Twitter, X, whatever we're calling it these days. And I've got the number 2 pick for the Washington Commanders in the 2024 NFL mock draft. Now, before I disclose who I selected for this pick, I kind of wanted to explain myself because it's probably going to piss a lot of people off, and I'm probably going to get much hate for this pick. However, there was a thought process behind that, and I'm going to explain it. So first of all, one thing that we all need to remember is there's been one common denominator throughout this entire offseason with the Commanders, and it has been that they have held everything very close to the vest. There's been no leaks to the media. There's been no tipping of the hand. So everything has been quiet. They've followed a process. They've made the decisions based off of what is best for the team, not what's going to get the best media headlines and not what is going to make the fans happy on social media. So the other thing is we are now an analytics-based organization. So a lot of our decisions will be made using analytics. As a matter of fact, Eugene Chen was the very first hire that Josh Harris made after he kind of stepped in and kind of got used to what was going on with the team. So as we keep all those things in mind, I decided to go through PFF, compare the top 3 quarterbacks that we now have available to us, J.J. McCarthy, Drake May, and Jaden Daniels, and I looked and I kind of compared all 3 of them against each other, and one guy stood out amongst all 3 of them. And as a matter of fact, out of, I think, 7 different categories that they used to compare these quarterbacks, this quarterback won 4 of those categories. So with that being said, with the number 2 overall pick in the 2024 NFL draft, the Washington Commanders will select quarterback J.J. McCarthy, University of Michigan.
JJ McCarthy looks like a frat bro.
Yeah, he does look like a frat bro. And thank you so much to Commander's Call, who made the selection for Washington at number 2, being J.J. McCarthy. Instant reaction, boys.
Don't keep your drinks out in Washington. JJ McCarthy looks like a frat bro that'll, no, I'm just kidding. No, I like JJ. He's a nice guy. I like that. He did something different there at number 2, which is what we needed after pick 1 was a shoo-in.
Yep, and now we're at the Patriots at number 3, which I believe was me, if I'm not mistaken here. I've even forgotten my draft order, of course. Yes, I had the Patriots. So what I did here is I got what the Patriots need. The obvious, I went with Jaden Daniels going to the Patriots. They don't have much on offense at this moment. They need a little bit more help in the sense that they don't have playmakers on the outside, a plentiful amount of them. And so I think that going with Jaden Daniels to add some explosiveness to that offense to help Gerard Mayo be able to take some weight off his shoulders as defensive coordinator, so to speak, I think this move would help them a heck of a whole lot.
Kobe Brissett would be blown in this mock draft because he's like, I'm going to be a starter again. Damn it, if it wasn't for those pesky kids.
Hopefully they take some of that weight off of Mayo's shoulders and add it to Jaden Daniels' frame.
It's stupid.
I'm just kidding. No, I'm just kidding. I just like to get the ball as well.
Now,
Come on, man.
Let's go to pick 4, Mr.
The
Michael.
election was stolen, Kyle.
Pick number 4, the Arizona Cardinals. Hall, who are they taking?
Yeah, not going to overthink this. They need wide receiver help after getting Marquise Brown going to the Chiefs. They give Kyler a weapon in Marvin Harrison Jr., who is most people's number 1 wide receiver in the draft.
Absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. Now we move to the 5th overall pick, which is going to Mr. Michael Reed with the Chargers. Who are the Chargers selecting at number 5, sir?
Well, I was going to go wide receiver here. I think that would probably make the most sense for them. But at the same time, you got to protect the franchise and their offensive line. They got a big hole over there at one of the tackle spots. I'm going to bring in the best offensive tackle in this class and a guy who you love, and that's Joe Alt. And they got some bookend tackles now all of a sudden to protect the boy. Don't know who's going to throw to, but they can protect him. That's all that matters.
Yes, it does. It is all that matters. Great selection going with Joe Alt, the best in this class at being the startable left tackles. That's a fantastic one by you. Now the 6th pick, which is the Giants. Unfortunately, our Mike's boy, Mr. Mark McCauley, made the pick selection for us. So, Hall, if you'd like to announce it, sir.
Yeah, he went with, again, not to overthink it, Daniel Jones is your quarterback, and we've seen without weapons that he's a bum. Even with weapons, he's still kind of a bum, unless he's playing Washington. But they get the second best wide receiver in this draft, or some people's first, Malik Neighbors. And he has to go against Washington twice a year, so cornerbacks here in Washington better lace them up.
Absolutely. Now we move. That's a really good selection. Now we move to the 7th overall pick. And this one is selected by yours truly. And here, I'm probably an idiot for doing this, but just looking at it in the sense that Titans last season were very bad in secondary. They allowed up a lot of yardage in the ground in the secondary. Obviously, Chris Harris and company need a little bit of help. I think for them, they need to go with Quinyon Mitchell, the cornerback that is from Toledo, if I'm not mistaken. I think that he's the best corner in this draft set up to be a number 1 corner right now. No disrespect to Kool-Aid and to Terrion. I think those guys are very talented in their own right, but Quinyon Mitchell has all the tools at his disposal to be a very good corner to start off and to go.
I agree with you. And with corners being such a premium position now, and after seeing what guys like Sauce Gardner and some of these young guys did, you go out there, you get the best cornerback in the draft, and I hope that you can make it work. And iron sharpens iron, going against these good wide receivers in practice every day. Of course, can Will Levis throw him the ball? No, but it's all good.
It's all good. Now, Hall, we go to you with the 8th pick with the Falcons. Who are they selecting, sir?
Yeah, they have a big hole on the other side of the ball. Obviously, they got Kirk Cousins this offseason to hopefully take their offense to the next level with the weapons that they already have. And so I went on defensive side of the ball, defensive end, Dallas Turner from Alabama.
Very good
Alabama.
Selection. Very, very good selection, sir. Go. All right, now we move to the 9th overall.
Shit about piss.
Which I believe is Reed. Reed with the 9th overall pick. What are they going with?
Look, the Bears can go a lot of different directions. They're very fortunate that 2 top 10 picks, especially in an offense heavy draft. I mean, they could go defender. Shoot, they could go a few different ways. But remember what I said when I made the Caleb Williams pick for them, that They need guys. They need to bring in as many guys as possible, and they brought in a lot of guys this offseason. They're going to get one more, who, in my opinion, is probably the most interesting wide receiver in this draft. One of my favorites, and that's Roma Dunze from Washington. I love the dude. He's such a good prospect. He's so athletic. He's a jump ball king, and he's somebody who can really grow with Caleb Williams. And now with these wide receivers, you can move them all over the field. DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, Roma Dunze, and then you got Cole Kmet. I mean, Caleb Williams will have no excuses except for that shaky offensive line.
Justin Fields is all salty, like, well, yeah, you don't do that for me.
Yeah, and it says, well, Justin, because you run the ball.
Yeah, and this was a great selection because obviously Caleb does need help, and Rome and Dunze is one of the most talented wide receivers in this class. But now the 10th overall pick, this is made the New York Jets. May our boy Andy Lockhart, the 1-point safety show. Thank you, Andy. Oi, in the UK.
Oi.
His selection for the Jets at number 10 is Brock Bowers. His reasoning for that, he says head and shoulders above the other tight ends in this class. If the Jets are all in around quarterback Aaron Rodgers this season, taking Bowers would give them the best chance to make a playoff run. They brought in left tackle Tyrone Smith and right tackle Morgan Moses last month, which lessens the need for an immediate starter at tackle. This just makes sense to me, bro. I agree with you, sir. I totally agree
100%.
with you.
Yeah, I love that pick. Aaron Rodgers to Brock Bowers, that would be fun to watch for this year, however long Aaron Rodgers ends up playing, because that dude is a stud.
Absolutely.
In that Kyle.
Now we go to the Vikings at number 11, and this is where I think this is a perfect. They didn't need to move up for it, and I think this is a perfect selection for the Minnesota Vikings here. I think they go with this. This is a very easy decision, in my personal opinion. They're going to go with Drake May. Not even having to move up for a starting quarterback in this league. That's obviously a perfect fit for them.
You keep both your first-round picks. You still get the quarterback. Come on, man. That's perfect for them.
Yes, and now we move to the Broncos. What are the Broncos doing, Hall?
Yes, so normally I know everyone has them picking a quarterback, and they should take a quarterback here. I just can't justify, as general manager of the Denver Broncos, taking a high pick at number 12 on Bo Nix, who I think Sean Payton is a really, really good fit with a guy like Bo Nix. And I know Michael Penix is still on the board, but I just think that Bo Nix is a better fit for Michael Penix. I feel like that as the Broncos, we can trade back into the first round, or honestly, we could have probably traded down at this point, but to get Bo Nix later on in the first round. But for the sake of that argument, we're going to go with some people's first best, some people's second best corner in this draft. Opposite Patrick Surtain, we're going to go Terrion Arnold.
Terrion Arnold from Alabama, the second cornerback off the board, going to the Broncos. Fantastic. Good job.
Need that in that division, too.
No, and honestly, this is where I could see Bo Nix going. And I've said it from the get-go. He just seems like a Sean Payton kind of guy. Now, moving on to the 13th overall pick, Michael Reed. Who do you have the Vegas Raiders selecting?
Well, this is a pretty Raiders thing. If you look at the Raiders roster, they're a prime candidate to trade up in this draft because they don't have a quarterback. They don't have anybody that's starter worthy in the NFL. And they're going to go with the guy who had a fantastic final season.
You're not a fan of AOC?
No, unfortunately. But I am a fan of her policies. And her big, beautiful boobs. But no, I'm just kidding. The Raiders are going to get the Raiders need a quarterback. Raiders are going to go Kyle's favorite thing in this world, Michael Penix, and they're going to bring him in. Now, look, he had a fantastic final season at Washington. He's experienced. He's got a fantastic deep ball. He's left-handed, and his biggest flaw, aside from the whole injury concern thing, was his athleticism. He put all that to bed during his pro day. Like, where the hell did all that come from? He didn't show that on tape at all. But it's very interesting. And Michael Penix, they're going to take a flyer and say, you know what? Let's hope we strike gold.
Absolutely. I really like that selection for them, going with Michael Penix to the Vegas. Obviously, because Vegas, with their quarterback position, you have no idea what the heck they're going to do there. But now we go with the Saints, the next pick. Hall, would you like to select this one for the Saints? Their team needs are tackle, guard, defensive tackle, edge, and quarterback.
So I was going to make this pick for the Seahawks because I thought a fan picked it, but he makes sense to go here as well. They need offensive linemen to protect Derek Carr, and they need you said offensive lineman, right? You said a tackle or interior lineman?
Tackle or guard, yes.
perfect fit for a guy like Graham Barton who can play any position on the offensive line more than likely. So I'm gonna go Graham Barton to the Saints.
Graham Barton to the Saints over Olu Fashanu. Shocking.
Yeah, because like I said, I wasn't really thinking about it. I was more
I
of
should
like,
have told you. It's fine. You can't see what I'm looking at. It's fine. I'm not
now
gonna
that you
blame
say
you.
it, I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot.
Some people
Olu's on the
do
board
think
still.
though Olufashanu is going to fall a little bit in this
You
draft.
know what?
So
Switch my
that's
pickup. Actually, put Olu in there. My bad.
I can't switch it up now. I've already made the
Oh, you already
selection.
locked it in.
he's
No,
already
my
made
bad.
his selection. Hey, daddy's got to bounce.
All right, dude. Go do your thing and don't refer to yourself that way ever again.
Hey, Kyle. How about you refer to me to that via text message? You always call me daddy.
No,
You
I
always say
don't.
that. I always tell you to stop. No, it's true. It's 100% true. It's very true. Anyway,
Proof
anyway,
or it
R.I.P.
didn't happen.
OJ. I'll post them everywhere, dude. R.I.P. OJ.
Oh my goodness.
Nah, I'm just kidding. I'm happy he's dead, dude.
Dude, why do you do this?
I'm just trying to kill time anyway.
All right, dude. Now we go to the Colts pick
Couldn't
at
turn his
number.
camera off. He's like,
We're going to the Colts pick at number 15, whose needs are wide receiver, cornerback, and safety and edge. And so right here, I'm going to go with Jared Verse, the edge defender from Florida State, a freak of nature, a very good athlete. I think right away you can add him to the Indianapolis Colts, and they don't have to be concerned moving forward. Now the number 16th overall pick, we're going to the Seattle Seahawks, Hall. Their needs: offensive guard, center, linebacker, defensive tackle, and cornerback.
So yeah, I was gonna pick Graham Barton here. I don't know. I don't
You
even have
got
any players in
Olu,
front of me.
Leitu Latu, Talise Fuaga, Troy Fontenot, Amarius Mims, J.C. Latham.
Yeah, the dude from UCLA,
Talise Fuaga from Oregon State.
from UCLA.
Oh,
The
Leitu
defensive end.
Latu.
Yeah, Latu. Yeah, I'll go him.
Okay. Leitu Latu going to the Seahawks. Jaguars team needs cornerback, wide receiver, defensive tackle, offensive tackle, and guard. I'm gonna go Olu Fashanu here. I think this is an easy shoe-in fit for them. They could be able to give some support to our boy Mr. Trevor Lawrence, who looks like my younger brother. Now to the Bengals. Bengals now defensive tackle, wide receiver, offensive tackle, cornerback, and guard. Where would you like for them to go here, Hall?
Yeah, I'm gonna go wide receiver with them. Let me pull up the list of wide
Brian
receivers.
Thomas is up.
Brian Thomas, yes, that's what I was gonna say. Brian Thomas to the Bengals. Obviously, T. Higgins, more than likely, if not traded during this draft, on his way out after this season. Hopefully, they got his replacement in Brian Thomas Jr.
All right, I really like that one. Now, our next selection, this is for the LA Rams. Needs are cornerback, edge, linebacker, defensive tackle, and offensive tackle. Here, I think that they make the wise decision and they go with Mr. Chop Robinson. I think adding a defensive edge rusher here with losing of Aaron Donald, I think it's going to be important for them to create that pass rush that you're losing from not having Aaron Donald. I think it's a very good selection for the Rams by going with Chop Robinson. I know a lot of people are hopeful he'd fall. Maybe he does in the real draft, but just for fun, not in this case. Hall, now we're at the Steelers. Offensive tackle, center, cornerback, wide receiver, and safety.
Yes. So the next rated offensive tackle in this draft is who they got on the board.
Talise
dude from,
Fuaga, Troy Fontenot, Amarius Mims, J.C. Latham.
I'm gonna go Fontenot. He's the one from Washington, right? Yeah, he seems like a Mike Tomlin guy, just like a gritty, hard-nosed, tough dude. Fits well with the Steelers culture.
Yeah, and if next pick is the Miami Dolphins at 21, I think this is very, very easy. I think they're going to go with Talise Fuaga, adding some toughness, some really good power on that offensive line, be able to bring some help for Tyreek Hill and Tua Tagovailoa. Now, the next one, the Eagles. Boo! Now you have to make the selection, Hall. Cornerback, linebacker, safety, wide receiver, and edge.
Kool-Aid.
You want
McKinstry.
Kool-Aid going here?
Yeah.
All right, Kool-Aid
much as I
McKinstry
would
from
like-
Alabama. I like that selection.
Be blown if they drafted him because I think he's going to be a baller. But yeah,
Now
somehow, some way the Eagles always get ballers.
Now at 23, for the Minnesota Vikings are selecting here. Their needs quarterback, defensive tackle, guard, cornerback, and wide receiver. I think this is probably the spot where you're looking at Graham Barton. I think that'd probably be a really good position for him to go in. But if oh man, it's hard for me to make a decision here for the the Jags because the guards here are not really plentiful, that you would say. So I'll make this easy. I think they go Johnny Newton, the defensive tackle from Illinois. Very good pass rusher. Does a very good job of clogging run lanes. I think he's a shoe-in fit for the Vikings. Adding a quarterback on offense and then the quarterback on defense and defensive tackle starting that off. Now the Cowboys, dang, dude, you got it rough. What are the
Right.
Cowboys
I
going to
got the
do at
Eagles.
24?
What's their needs?
Offensive tackle, center, linebacker, running back, defensive tackle. I think this is where Jackson Powers Johnson goes.
Nah, because he's more of like a center.
They need a center, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, but they also need a tackle. Who's their tackle? Who's it
Amarius,
like tackles?
Marius Mims, J.C.
Mm,
Latham, Tyler
mm.
Guyton.
I like Tyler Guyton. I think Tyler Guyton goes to the Cowboys right there. Replaces Tyron Smith as their hopefully next perennial left tackle.
And now the Green Bay Packers at 25. They need a linebacker, cornerback, offensive guard, offensive tackle, and safety. The linebackers are not here, very plentiful, right? So here I'll go with J.C. Latham. I think J.C. Latham going to Green Bay would be a very good selection for them, being able to protect Jordan Love on the outside. Now the Bucks, edge, cornerback, center, guard, or wide receiver.
Um, They need an edge rusher. Who we got with the edge rushers?
Edge rushers right now. Oh, my bad. Not really a plentiful amount.
That's what I was thinking.
Closest one is Darius Robinson at 39 projected.
Mm, what else do they need? Cornerback.
Cornerback, center, guard.
And this is for the Packers. I like
This is for the
Jackson.
Bucks.
Out for the Bucks. Well, they just re-signed Baker. Need some protection up front. I'll go Jackson Powers.
Like that a lot. Now that the Arizona Cardinals with their second selection in the first round, they need a wide receiver, defensive tackle, cornerback, guard, or edge. I think this is probably where you could see Byron Murphy going. If not, actually, you know what? I'm going to go with Adonai Mitchell. I think this is where Adonai Mitchell goes. Now, the next selection that we have, this is for the Bills. Hall, what do you got? Wide receiver, safety, edge, defensive tackle, and center.
Who's the next wide receiver? Is it Polk on that
Xavier
list?
Worthy.
He's a speedy guy. I was gonna maybe try to get him a bigger type wide receiver because I already got
Keon
that one
Coleman.
smaller.
Keon Coleman
Keon
is
Coleman,
there.
it's a little too early there. Yeah, I'll give him Worthy just because he's a speedy guy. They need to push the ball down the field with that big armor, Josh Allen.
All right, Xavier Worthy. Welcome to Buffalo, sir. If this will let me draft him. There we go. Now, the next selection is for
Small
the
receivers.
Detroit Lions. Edge, cornerback, defensive tackle, guard, or wide receiver. Edge, corner. Dang, this is a really good one. Offensive guard, Cooper Lawn, wide receiver. I think I'll give them Keon Coleman. They add another wide receiver here.
Damn.
All right, now the Ravens with wide receiver, guard, edge, safety, and offensive tackle. Cooper DeJuan is sitting there. Nate Wiggins, Marius Mims, Byron Murphy, Kingsley Satuamoya.
What wide receivers are left?
Wide receiver, Lad
They need some help.
McConkey,
Ooh, that's a nice. I like that pick.
Xavier
Keep going.
Leggett,
Ooh, Leggett. He sounds like the
legit.
perfect Raven.
Jalen Polk.
Yeah, I'll go Xavier Leggett to the Ravens. They just got rid of OBJ walk. They need some help outside of Zay Flowers. Leggett.
Which would be a very surprising pick because that would be a very good pick. Now for the 49ers, offensive tackle, cornerback, defensive tackle, guard, and edge. I think offensive tackle is what they're going to go with here. I think it makes a lot of sense to go with Amarius Mims. I think Amarius Mims is a giant to get on the other side of Trent Williams. If anyone's thinking Amarius Mims is going to start left tackle, I have big concerns there. So I think Amarius Mims is what you can feel good about in that sense. What's going on here? Do the Chiefs have like 2 picks in the first round or something?
No, they should be.
Oh
number
my
32.
goodness, I'm tripping. I don't even know why I thought. So with the Chiefs, what do you want to do there? They need
They
wide
need some
receiver,
help.
tackle,
Yeah, they need wide
linebacker.
receiver help. I'll take Lad McConkey to blow up in fantasy and real life going to the Chiefs with Pat Mahomes and Andy Reid.
That'd be so stupid, bro. And it would make so much sense. All right, everybody.
Mhm.
Thank you so much for tuning in for this mock draft. I hope it was enjoyable. It's the first time that we've done it this way. I thought it was pretty cool. So
Yeah.
what we'll do is we'll release this at the end of the show to kind of show what exactly happened and what everybody selected. Oh, let me get full results. So let me do full results. Let's let everybody look at it just one time in case you get a kick out of that sort of thing. Let's see here. Now we're to wrap this up, boys. We're gonna answer some fan questions before we get out of here. If this thing would stop tripping. So there's our full result with number 2 overall. The Commanders going with J.J. McCarthy. Still shocking for me. It's the one guy literally in this entire class I don't really like all that much. And of course, that would be the one selection that they go with. But just giving you guys a little look into what our full results are for the first round mock. Again, we're probably going to be doing this next week. So if you'd like to get involved, let us know, dude. We'd love for you to be involved with us, be able to make some of these selections. Now let's go to our fan question, sir. This one was sent in by the Colonel. If the Commanders are not totally sold on Drake Mayhall or Jaden Daniels, they stand to get a king's ransom for the number 2 pick. If they do trade back, do you still feel they'll take a quarterback? And if so, who? Personally, I think it would be Michael Penix Jr., perhaps a logical explanation why we didn't vigorously pursue a left tackle during free agency. It's a very good point.
It's a good point. Yeah. I mean, I think in an ideal situation, they would like to get J.J. McCarthy with a trade back, but more than likely he's going somewhere within that top 5. So, yes, I think the next guy on their list would be a guy like Michael Penix, who they brought him in for a top 30, one of the 30 visits. They've met extensively with him, and they've talked to him. I think that with Cliff's downfield passing vertical offense that he wants to instill, and he's a deadly accurate passer. I think that great arm strength. I think he would be perfect for Cliff's, or not perfect, but he'd be able to fit into Cliff's offense. And again, I don't think that you technically need like a mobile quarterback for this offense, because they talked about kind of molding the offense around the quarterback and what he does well. So I would assume that they're going to mold it to what Michael Penix does well. And that would make your next need obviously the right tackle, because we can't go into the season with Andrew Wiley being his primary blocker on his strong side. But yeah, I think that if they traded down wherever that would be, probably the Vikings or the Raiders or maybe the Broncos, somewhere between that 11 to, or the Broncos, like 12, 13 pick. I think that Michael Penix would be in prime position to get picked right there.
No, I agree with you. I think Penix or Nix fits exactly what they want to do. And the reason why I say that is because Bo Nix gets the ball out of his hand. That's what he does. Him and Penix are able to avoid pressure a lot. And I think that translates to the next level. And I think you made a great point there about saying, do you honestly need your legs for this offense? No. You need somebody who can distribute the ball to the outside. We saw Sam Howell threw the ball a crap load last year, but we still had to fight our asses off in order for Terry McLaurin to get 1,000 yards receiving. That is unacceptable. We have to be able to give our playmakers the ball in their hands. And poo-poo Bo Nix and Michael Penix all you want, those guys are able to do that just as much as the other guys are in the upper echelon. So yeah, I would be okay with any of them, honestly. Just J.J. McCarthy's the one I'm like, what? You know what I mean? Look, I know they all have bad plays, but I was like, you know what? Let me watch Michigan. I want to see J.J. McCarthy against Alabama in this bowl game. Let me see what's good. Like 4 plays in, J.J. McCarthy scrambles to his right. He doesn't see Rome Wilson. Obviously, he wants more. But Rome Wilson is open, okay? And then he continues to run, and obviously the sun's in his face. But he goes to throw the ball away, and it gets nearly picked off. I'm pretty sure the corner stepped out of bounds before he caught it. But regardless, It's like, what are you doing? Just throw the ball out of bounds, dude. And it's like that kind of thing. And it's not, that wasn't the only one. I just don't want to pick on the kid. It's just like, whatever they want to do, I get. It's just like, that's the one dude, that's the one frickin' guy. Now let's go to Twitter for our fan questions. And this one was submitted by Tony Franchise. Which of the top 4 quarterbacks do you see sliding on draft day? And which of the second tier quarterbacks do you see moving earlier than predicted?
Who do I see sliding?
Out of the top guys, who do you see sliding?
Yeah. I mean, I think it could be JJ McCarthy. I think that it could be like kind of like Will Levis last year, where if he got propped up, next thing you know, he's pick number 33 in the second round, pick number one. So I can definitely see the hype around JJ because again, your potential and what he could be, but again, like I said, he could definitely have that Will Levis slide. And what was the second part of the question?
The second part of the question was, in which of the second tier quarterbacks you see moving
Mhm.
earlier than predicted?
Yeah, I think it'll be Michael Penix. I think like a lot of people have talked about how the coaches in the league are way higher than him than the actual scouts are. And since the coaches are going to be the ones that are going to be working with him every single day, more than likely the coaches will overrule the scouts. So I do think that a guy like Michael Penix, who fits really, really well with the Raiders, I think him and AP would be like a great match together, kind of like same personalities to mesh together. And he seems like a Raider type quarterback. So I think that Michael Penix is a guy that's going to go a lot earlier than people think.
Yeah, I think the J.J. McCarthy could go to the Raiders as one selection. I think that could happen. Obviously, Jaden Daniels could be one of those guys that Vegas goes up to go get. You never truly know in this sort of situation. But I would say probably J.J. McCarthy. I would have to put my money on it. Or it would be Drake May. I think one or two of those guys is probably where you're going to go with that will fall. Of the back end guys that could get higher drafted higher than expected. I as stupid as it is to say, I think it could possibly be Rattler. Just given that everyone is looking at Rattler as like the third, fourth, there's a way that he could move himself up just based on what quarterbacks and how many are drafted in that process, you know. Now,
Right.
the next, thank you, Tony. It was a great one. Next question from Just Your Average Fly Guy. Hall, if the edge from UCLA Latu fell to 36, would you prioritize that over left tackle?
That's a good question. You do have a hole at edge. Man, I would say no, only for the simple fact of as much as we've talked about, like as much faith as they have in Trent Scott, Cornelius Lucas, guys like that. Over 17 game season, I don't think they have that much faith in them. So I do think that you need to find that left tackle that can be, if not your starter day one, eventually at some point in the season, take over that role as that starter and hopefully be that cornerstone guy going forward with the quarterback, whoever you draft. So as much as Latu would be a great pick at 36, that's great value, and it's going to be really, 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 really hard to pass up. Defensive end is definitely a primary position in the NFL too, and a need for this team. I just think that that left tackle is a slightly more need at this point in time.
I would take Latu there. And the reason I say that is if you, based on how they look at Latu, right? Let's say they do have a first round grade on Latu, but let's say they have a second round grade on like Jordan Morgan, these tackles that are there possibly for them. In that selection at 36, you want to take the best player available. And it's not like you're in a position to poo poo any edge rushers away, right? And so I think that that's where you would make the selection for Latu. That's where that perfect kind of situation where Washington has built the team in order that they can go in any direction. And if somebody of that talent, of that caliber falls to you, go and select them, and then you can get your tackle at 40. If you really are that adamant about making it happen because of the grades that you have, the differences between the pick at 36 and pick at 40, like let's say you do lose out in that tackle, is there a huge drop off in talent between those two guys as much as there is between Latu Latu and the other edge? And that's where my question lies. That's why I would go with Latu there. It's a really, really good question from Fly Guy that makes you think a little bit. Now the next one from Scott Hartley in the UK, Hall. Oi!
Oi.
Who's an under the radar prospect that you want the Commanders to draft? Who can make an immediate impact on the team?
Under the radar prospect. Come back to me. I got to think about that.
Okay, I think there's a plethora of guys that can help you in this draft class. I think Javon Solomon from Troy is the edge defender. I think Muhammad Kamara is another guy, highly productive, had 8.5 sacks in 2022, had 13 sacks last season. And you can, when you watch the film on him, it's like when in pass pro, they're dedicating a lot of stuff to him. Very smart, instinctual edge rusher. And maybe he won't last until the 4th or 5th round, but that's somebody that you could get and that's not being like highly coveted amongst the edge rushers. so to speak. Like, let's say Latu Latu, Chop Robinson, they're all gone. When you're at 36, you can move in that kind of tackle area. Somebody like Muhammad Kamara is somebody you could go to and say, yeah, I could plug that guy in right away. Another name is Austin Booker. I haven't watched him yet, but a lot of people have been bringing him up a lot. I would also, who else can I go with? I think Brendan Rice probably needs a look at as well. But I think Cam Hart and I think that's probably where you want to go with it. I don't want to. My boy Christian Jones. Okay, I'm putting that stamp on. That's my boy. All right, Christian Jones. I know it's probably beaten like a dead horse at this point. Hall, you got anybody now?
Yeah, I'm just looking at PFF, and there's like mid round players that would be good fits. Clicked on Washington. I'm gonna steal this from PFF. So, but it's a tight end, which is obviously a need for this team. Dallin Holker from Colorado State said he has a good pair of hands. He's only dropped 4 passes this season.
He's so with hands. He's not going to be a
Yeah,
spectacular
well, it
catch
says
guy.
a safe pair of hands is what it says. So
He's
that's why I
more
said
so
he has,
of
okay.
your solid catching kind of guy. He's not going to be a crazy separator, but he has the build of like a George Kittle type. Do you know what I'm saying?
Exactly, yeah.
The stocky, he's got a lot of weight on him, but he blocks well, and also he's very clutch. He's the one that caught the Hail Mary at the end versus Boise State to give Colorado
Yeah.
State the win.
It's funny because I was actually going to say he kind of has that comp to a lesser athletic George Kittle, where he's a good blocker. It's not going to be a tell where he's in the game this time. Oh, it's definitely run play. He's in the game this time. Oh, it's definitely a pass play.
Right.
So he said he had 15 missed tackles on 64 receptions. Kind of a tougher guy to bring down, kind of like you said, George Kittle. So obviously Adam Peters comes from San Francisco, where they drafted George Kittle at. So if he can get a poor man's George Kittle to maybe develop into a George Kittle light one day down the road, that would be great.
Yep. And now good job, Scott. Next question from EM Sensei. Based on what we know of the offensive staff, how involved will the tight ends or running backs be? Do we expect to see more multi-tight end sets or running back sets, and why or why not?
I think there'll be more running back sets than there is tight end sets. If you know Cliff's offense from Arizona, which he says it's not the same offense, they're going to mold it around the quarterback, but he still likes to spread the offense or spread the defense out, put 3-4 wide receivers out there. So if you have 4 wide receivers, I'm going to say maybe one of them can be a tight end. They all don't have to be wide receivers. You could have Terry on the outside, Jahan on the other side, maybe Eckler in the slot, and a guy like Zach Ertz at the slot. Just kind of create those mismatches. So I think there will be, and just because a guy like Austin Eckler, who I think still has a lot of explosion left to him, can definitely contribute to this team, and a guy like Brian Robinson, who we just showed last year with more carries, he can be that, not like that dominant number one running back, but a good like thunder and lightning type of mix of running backs that we have in the backfield. So I would say more running back sets, just because, and even Austin Eckler said himself that he's kind of taken it upon himself to say, hey, like, this is how I want to be used in the offense. He wants to be used out in the slot, motion, running those option routes and stuff like that, mismatches on the linebacker. So I think that it'll be more running back sets.
And I also think the context is important. If they draft a tight end, obviously it can change. But at the time, when you're looking at it right now, Yam, obviously you can't really the thought of having John Bates out there all the time running routes and everything. Obviously, that's one cog they have in your head, but they could go with Cole Turner, with Zach Ertz, and everything. I do think that tight end will be heavily utilized, but I do think that the running backs. But that begs the question, because do you feel Chris Rodriguez is going to have to give them the confidence to be able to step in, right? And that makes you think that they're going to withdraw on using Austin Eckler so much as a wide receiver. So it's a hard thing to say, but I will say that I think the tight ends will probably be more used than we are expecting, to be safe and to answer that safely. Next question from Tim Towner. Thank you, Yem. Seems everyone is either on the May train or the Daniels train or the move back train. And it makes me wonder, have you ever taken a trip via train? You could throw in bus trips on Greyhound or Trailways, subways, systems, horseback, whatever.
No, I've never been on I've been on a Greyhound bus. Actually, I'm lying. I haven't been on a Greyhound bus, but no, I've never been on a train. Never been on a subway. No, never been on a subway. Like the metro, I don't really count that as like a subway, but yeah, the most I've been on is like a metro and like an airplane. Never been on anything else. And a Greyhound. I did take a Greyhound bus like trip around, but yeah.
I mean, like we took one of those Greyhounds up to New York when we went for work, when we went to like some product thing. But that's not really like a cool, crazy story. But I will say, where the party bus that we took down to go to Ashley Parkinson's birthday party in D.C. I'll never forget. That was the worst ride of my life. Dude, I had to pee so bad. I was holding it in the whole time. Like, as soon as we left the house, we're going to D.C. from Damascus. It's at least 45 minutes. I'm sitting there just holding it just like the whole time, like a horrible look on my face. I'm trying to play it off like, oh, yeah, man, I'm cool. Like, no, I was hurting, man. Like, I was even contemplating. I was like, man, can I like let out a little bit at a time without unleashing it? Like, it was like a dire situation, but I made it, and that was a good time. But besides that, yeah, great friggin' time. And also, they told us that Pierre like passed away that night. We went to the club with Pierre. We didn't see Pierre. They told us that Pierre passed out, like was passed out dead. We're like, what? We went outside to the bus. He was like on the bus. What is going on, man? That's our friends. But now the next question is submitted by Deluxe. Do you give the rookie quarterback starter practice reps or make him earn it with split reps initially? Does that vary by who is picked?
No, I don't think it varies by who's picked. I think you split the reps up 50-50, and whichever quarterback starts to separate themselves throughout that process, you start giving them 55, 55-45, 60-40, 70-30, till eventually it's just, all right, you know your place. You're the number 2 guy. He's getting 95% of the reps in practice. So I don't think it's going to be like, not to knock the last regime, but I don't think it's going to be like the last regime where there's going to be a competition, but then there's really no competition because everyone knows who the starter is going to be. I do think that there will be a competition to start out and let the best man win, but more than likely, if it's Jaden Daniels, he's going to be the starter. If it's Drake May versus Marcus Mariota, that could be a little bit more complicated, but I'd still probably pick Drake May. So I think either way, it's going to be a competition, and then the best one will separate themselves a couple weeks into it.
I'll say this. If it's a quarterback competition, if they announce that whatsoever, it's because the quarterback looked like ass when he came out there. Do you know what I mean? But like honestly, at that point, no disrespect to Mariota, but if you are going quarterback in that scenario, like it has to be somebody that could come in and yeah, you can say has split reps, but you should know immediately. That's my guy.
That's what I'm saying. Like, yeah, exactly.
That's my guy. Because he already has it, right? Like almost because people are trying to make Sam Howell to be like this guy who took control of the team type of thing. Almost like Taylor Heineke in a way. You got to be able to go out there and grab everybody and say, this is my team. And that's the kind of guy you're looking for. No disrespect to Mariota. I just don't know if he has that kind of grasp. You know, we saw that in Atlanta and how that kind of went. So in my opinion, he should be able to beat him out with split reps. So yes, Arch, start it out with split reps and let him hammer it out. Next question. This one is from Arch again, last one from Arch. Let's say they hit on 4 of their 9 picks. What are the 3 most important positions to hit on besides quarterback? Quarterback is assumed to be as the first of the 4.
So the other 3, you got to hit on the tackle because obviously he needs protection up front, and the line for the past couple of years has been shaky to say the least. You got to hit on, I'll say safety because we let Cam walk, and the only reliable, I'm not going to say reliable because Jeremy Reeves is solid, but the only, I'll say difference maker that we have on the back end right now as we speak is a guy like Derek Forrest who can create turnovers. He can come up, lay the wood on a guy, pause. So I'll say safety to match with Derek Forrest. And because obviously Joe Witt's been coaching DBs since forever. And so I think that he'll be able to get the best out of whoever they draft in the secondary. And 3, left tackle, safety. I'll say wide receiver. And then you don't really got to like, when I say hit, I'll just say like there was a solid number 2, maybe like a solid number 3, just because this team has been devoid of offensive points, offensive like explosion for a really, really long time here. And I want to get an explosive player, and I want to get points back on the board for this offense. And one of the ways to do that is the downfield passing game. Add another receiver, you hit on that. You got 3 legit wide receivers, which in the NFL nowadays, you got 3 guys. You're going to be looking pretty good on offense if your quarterback's good enough. So, and it'll make the quarterback look good, honestly. So the more weapons, the better for our young quarterback. So I'll say left tackle, safety, wide receiver.
All right, I like it. You stole one of mine, so I had to switch it up. But for me, it's edge, corner, and tackle. Tackle in particular. I think that you have to be able
Would
to.
I take wide receiver?
Yeah, you took wide receiver. And the reason why I say offensive tackle, I am so pissed me off to no end to have DeJuan Jones go to Cleveland, to have us draft Braden Daniels, and to have the tackles not be figured out, and to continue to go on this MO of this powder puff bullshit offensive line situation that we had. We need some maulers in here. You need, like, as much as anyone out there likes to say, like, male toxicity and everything like that, well, to be honest, winning teams have assholes like that. And we need some assholes like that.
You need a couple assholes like that in your team if you're going to be a
and
real
so
team.
for me, you got to be able to get me in. I'm not going to say it. I was about to say it. Just we need a mauler, okay? Just give me a mauler at tackle, fix this offensive line, be able to start by adding the bricks. And we don't need another fall through, because if you draft a tackle and he falls through, we're back to square one again, and we have to be able to replenish the fountain in that regard. Corner, same thing in regards to Emmanuel Forbes. Just given the fact that if you do draft a corner, it better be somebody that's going to produce for you in a big way, because Dan Quinn and Witten, how they do with corners, right? Last one, edge. I think that's a position that you have to hit on, because if you want, in long term looking at it, if you're able to get somebody on the caliber of being able to be a starter and getting you double-digit sacks, that is immensely important into the progress into this football team. Dan Quinn and company, they really benefit. Their secondary benefited with interceptions, turnovers very well with having pressure in the quarterback's face. If you're able to hit on that edge rusher in this draft, that's going to help this defense get started a lot quicker than a lot of people are expecting them to. Now, the last question that we have is last from Tim Towner. He said, oh, my goodness, of course it goes away as soon as I click on it. Sometimes Discord, dude. This one, a majority of us want to draft a quarterback in the first round, and a majority of us have wanted us to draft O-line for years. How would you square this circle?
Quarterback's the most important position on the field and in the entire game. Left tackle is definitely right there as far as like importance, but quarterback takes overall. You need that quarterback not only to just be like the leader on the field, but off the field, the general, the leader, the locker room leader, the face of the franchise. Look, I love Trent Williams and I love what he did for this team, but like that just goes to show you we haven't had like legit quarterback play for here for a while. That the left tackle was the face of the franchise for so long. You know what I'm saying? So we need that dude that's going to be the face of the franchise. The dude that's going to be here for 10 to 15 years and hopefully lead this team to championships and Super Bowls. You got to go quarterback over the left tackle.
I'm with you here. How would I square this circle? It depends on what type of material we're talking about, Tim. If this is wood, I'd use an oscillating saw. If this is drywall, I'd use my drywall saw to be able to do it. And what I would do is I'd go trade for Jackson Carman with the seventh round pick or something of the sort. But honestly, it's invest. It's invest in either being able to trust your scouts and be able to everyone involved, be able to act and add people in here to be able to build up that offensive line. And I think at this point, they well aware that they're getting their quarterback, and you have to be able to protect them. And so I think the investment part of it is not that big of a concern. So how would I fix it? Probably by not touching it, but by not screwing it up myself, allowing them to go about the process and selecting the line that they like. And I think they've done a good job by throwing spaghetti at the wall, and have done it in putting themselves in a position where it's not dire, but it is a need. And
I would say coaching as well too.
Right.
Coaching is like a big part of it.
Absolutely. So how would I do it? I'd do it by going in the draft, and there's options here. You just have to be very smart about it. You can sit and wait on Christian Jones, but you can't wait that long, because a lot of people might poo-poo it, but honestly, he might be worth pick 100. And getting that kind of tackle to be your bookend for many years, like you talked about, very important. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for this mock episode. If you'd like to be involved, message us. Reach out to us via DM on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Just search for the Burgundy Zone. Also, if you'd like to see the film breakdowns of Muhammad Kamara I did yesterday, go to on Twitter. Go to the Burgundy Zone. And if you want to be a part of the mock draft next week, reach out. All right, everybody. I'm Kyle.
I'm Hall.
And we will see you guys on Sunday. Enjoy the weekend. Don't do anything that Reed would do. And what I mean by that is make things very awkward. All right, everybody. We'll see you then. Have a great weekend. Washington football. Woo!
Peace.
What's up, everyone? This is Kyle from the Burgundy Zone. We are releasing our own merch to support the show. If you want to rock the Burgundy Zone logo or you want to see Reed's face on your shirt, we got it. We're starting with t-shirts, hoodies, and zip-up. So if you're a fan of the show, make sure you snag one before they are gone. Check out the link in our bio on Instagram, or you can find the link in the description of the video. Thanks again for all your support. Until next time.